party rolling. Back on episode 13, we had founding member Dennis Hagen of the Toledo Spirit Hunters on the show. Today, I'd like to welcome another team member from the Toledo Spirit Hunters, paranormal investigator and expert, David Sartin. How you doing, bud?
Pretty good. Yourself?
Pretty good, man. Good to have you on the show finally. I know we've been planning this for a while.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, not a problem. So I guess we can get things kicked off with how did since you are a paranormal investigator, how did your fascination with ghosts and paranormal start? How did that fascination start for you?
I actually I used to run a security company a long time ago, and I was on a job site, and they have what you call a heritage room, and I would go in and I would unlock the first door, and then I would turn on all the TVs and all the DVD players, and like they had like DVDs of the old buildings, like where the nuns and stuff used to work and stuff. It's actually a Lord's College in Sylvania, Ohio. And I'm turning on all the TVs and DVD players and everything, and making sure everything's up and running. And I open up the exit door, and they have a church on the inside, which is right next door to the heritage room. And right in the middle of the heritage room and the church, there is like a little a horseshoe like seating area. And a long time ago, whenever the nuns pass away, they would have their bodies on display in that little sitting room. And I was exiting out of that door, and I happened to see this like white misty figure of a woman, and she was just standing there, and I was just sitting there in like a maze, like I was just sitting there like just staring at her, and then she just like disappeared. And
So
I'm
it
like,
was a
where
full
did
body
this lady?
apparition?
Yep.
And now
Sure was.
before this, you didn't have any experience or believe in ghosts necessarily?
Nope, not at all. And that was probably about 11 and a half years ago.
So what
And
happened after you seen the apparition?
it disappeared, and I was kind of like dumbfounded, like I was like, what the heck just happened? And I didn't really think anything of it. And I turned and I walked away, and I felt this cold chill up the back of my spine. And ever since then, like, I've been trying to figure out what that was, like what I seen, and if I could ever see it again. And that was the only time that I've ever seen a full body apparition that was glowing like in a nun's outfit.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's how it all started.
Now, did this entity say anything to you, or did you get like any kind of vibe? Was it malicious or anything like that?
I got like like it's kind of like it wasn't any like bad vibes. It was kind of like, hey, like I know that you're here unlocking these doors every day, like it. I think it just wanted to make its presence known, because I was there every day for about like 2.5 years. And on that specific day, it was probably like 5:55, 6 o'clock in the morning, because that's when we open up all the doors. And it just appeared, and then it just vanished. I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, what the heck is this? And ever since that day, I've been fascinated by it. And I've been doing investigations here and there, and trying to see if I could find something similar to what I seen on that day. And like I see black figures like whenever I go out on investigations, and like I hear noises and stuff like that, but I have never ever seen a full body apparition like I seen 11 and a half years ago. I can never find it.
Wow. Yeah, that's hard to come by. Now, when you say black figures, you mean like shadow people?
Yep. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I did a couple of investigations here in Toledo, residence houses, and I've seen them. There was one um, investigation that I did in South Toledo. The lady actually called me because she said that she had some paranormal activity going on in her house. She had cabinets being moved in her kitchen, pots and pans being banged around and moved. And I walked inside, and as soon as I walked into this house, like I could feel the presence of the spirits, and there was more than one. And she actually showed me a picture. Um, Google Maps drove by her house, and on Google Maps, on Google, you can see a like I think it was like either 4 or 5 apparitions in the window on Google Maps.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
You know
and
that.
I've
Go ahead.
actually posted I've actually posted the picture from Google Maps on social media, and I've gotten, just outstanding comments, like, wow, like there's more than one, or, like that's cool, or, like I've even got like, that's kind of freaky, like, but after my investigation in that lady's house, I said a prayer, and I didn't have sage at the time, but they had some sage out in their car. And after my investigation, probably like a month or two later, she had sent me a message, and she said that the spirit activity in her home has ceased. Because I went inside and I said, hey, you guys don't live here anymore. This property is, like, this property has different residents in it now, like you don't belong here anymore. And me personally, like, I think they took to that and they left, and they don't bother that family anymore.
Now, as far as the shadow people go, I've actually, they typically have like more of a darker presence. I've actually, heard from psychic mediums. Some of them say that even some of them, like shadow people, never even existed in human form. What are your thoughts on what are shadow people? What are your thoughts about that? And what kind of feeling did you get when you encountered them?
I mean, whenever I encountered shadow figures, I would get like, you know, an uneasy feeling, because some dark entities, they're not, good, like they're evil and stuff like that. I've actually been scratched on my wrist right here, which they call the marking of the devil. I've been scratched 3 times.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I've gotten cold chills. I've gotten, kind of like freaked out a little bit, like, hey, like I need to step outside real quick, to like shake this off, whatever it is. And, like black shadows, like I was in a residence house one time. This was probably maybe 8, 9 years ago. And it was down in the basement, and you could see this dark shadow just dart across the doorway. And I actually have the video evidence of that, and you can see it clear as day. Like I'm sitting there talking, and I'm asking a question, and I pan the camera around, and you can see this figure just right by the doorway. And then I went over there to try to see what it was, or to see if I could find it. Wasn't nobody there at all.
Wow.
And, like ever since I started doing investigations, like it's like a passion of mine. Like, like I love doing it, like I'm always looking for for the next place to go investigate. I mean, like, um, the house that I'm I'm at now, this is my new house. I moved probably about close to a month and a half ago. But my previous house, me, Dennis, and the Toledo Spirit Hunters, we did a investigation of my old house, and you can see on the SLS camera apparitions on the camera, and like we got some voices, saying get out, this and that, like we heard some whispers, and we seen a bunch of orbs around Dennis, and me, Dennis, and his wife got cold chills whenever that happened. Probably about a week or two before we did the investigation as a team, I went down in the basement by myself, and I did a spirit box session, and I got a male and a female. It kind of sounded like they were arguing, and there's like two little kids that are involved, and I think that they're hiding in one of the closets that are downstairs, because my kids, they were afraid to go down in the basement by themselves. Like, that's how freaked out they were. And my sister-in-law, her daughter, she didn't even want to go down in the basement whatsoever. And I did my spirit box session, and I was like, yeah, this basement is definitely haunted. And then the Toledo Spirit Hunters went down there, and we did a investigation, and I mean, we got lots of orbs, bangs, we got voices being heard, and we got apparitions on the SLS camera. And that video is going to be coming out shortly. Nice. On the Toledo Spirits YouTube page.
Did you know any history of the house? Was there anything
as far as history, just the previous owners. But I mean, like, the previous owners sold it to the people that I was renting the house out to, and I tried to get contact, like get in contact with them, but they were unavailable, because like, a lot of people don't really want to talk about experiences that they had, because it gives them a uneasy feeling, or people might look at them like they're weird. But me, I'm all for it. I mean, you can ask me questions all day long, and I'm just going to come right out and tell you, hey, this is what happened, this is what I've experienced. But as far as doing any sort of history on that house, I mean, the only history that I know of is what I heard through the SB7 Spirit Box.
How did you become involved with the Toledo Spirit Hunters?
I became involved with the Toledo Spirit Hunters. There was a post on their page that said looking for a cameraman / investigator, and I've been wanting to join a team for quite some time. There were other paranormal teams that I was trying to work with, and they didn't really want to work with me, because I mean, I honestly can't tell you why they didn't want to work with me. Probably because they were intimidated by how much experience I have, and like how long I've been doing it. And there is a few paranormal investigation teams that are really popular, but if you actually watch some of their videos are what you would call fake. Like, they say that the stuff happened, but it didn't really happen.
Yeah,
but if you go, yeah.
That's one thing about you guys. That's one reason why I invited Dennis on the show. Watching your guys' content. I mean, it doesn't seem fake to me. It seems like it's real, and it's good content, you know.
Yeah. And that's why I love doing it, because like I've been doing this for going on about 12 years, and it just draws me in even more and more and more that I do it. And I love every little bit of it, like every location that we go to, every investigation, even if I'm by myself, I'm going to get out there and do it. Like a lot of people are afraid to do a investigation by themselves. If I'm by myself and hey, like I call up some people and say, hey, like I'm investigating this real quick, you want to come? And if they say no, I'm just going to go ahead and do it, because I know that I can either get something on film or there won't be anything there. I mean, either way, I did it. So
You mentioned that you're a cameraman and you do some other things. So sounds like you got a lot of roles with the team. What are some of the roles that you do?
Cameraman, editing, um, investigator, and I am also the executive producer. So whenever we do a location, it's either me and Dennis sit down and we edit together, or he'll edit a video and then he'll send it over to me, and then I'll go through, and if I see something that he missed, I'll go in and I'll edit it, and then I'll send it back to him and say, hey, pretty much thumbs up on that, go ahead and post it, to YouTube, social media, stuff like that.
Nice. What has been one of your favorite locations that you guys have investigated?
Well, to be honest, I actually just started with the team not too long ago, and we really haven't done any locations as a team besides my old house, because this whole, what you would call, COVID-19 thing that's been going on. So pretty much, everything's been put on hold for right now.
So what's one of the more scarier locations that you've personally experienced?
Me personally, my scariest ones was the one at Lord's College, of the all white figure that I seen, because at the time I didn't know what it was or what it was about, like that was something new to me. And that's always going to be burned in the back of my mind. Hey, a long time ago, I ran into that and I seen that. And, that's one of them. There was one actually at my old house. My wife, she was at work. My son was in his room. And I'm sitting on the phone talking to my wife while she was on break. And at my old house, there is a door that leads to the second door, the second floor balcony. And now, mind you, this door was locked at the deadbolt and at the handle. And I'm sitting there talking to my wife, and all of a sudden, I see a big bright light, pretty much like appear on the wall, as if somebody opened the door. And I got up, and that door was wide open, and I'm sitting there dumbfounded. I'm like, hey babe, I just seen this door open, and both of the locks were locked on the door. And whenever I actually went out there, the doors were unlocked, but the deadbolt on the top was kind of like still deadbolted. And another one, which was actually recent, was actually at my old house again. My wife, she actually experienced it. I was burning sage in my old house, and I was standing in between the doorway of the hallway in our bedroom, and I hear a cat meow twice. And we don't have any cats in the house. All we have is a small dog. Well, I wake up to go to work the next day, and my wife said that she woke up around, it was between the hours of 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. She said that she felt a cat crawl along the bed, and she woke up and she heard a cat meow right in front of her face, and there was no cat there.
That is so crazy. I actually had a similar experience at the house I owned in Mineral Ridge, Ohio, probably, I don't know, 10 years ago, 12 years ago at this point. But that is so strange. We actually seen the cat a couple times, and the
Wow.
multiple people in the house actually experienced the feeling of a cat jumping on them, like if they were staying over or
Oh, wow.
whatever. Yeah, yeah. So that's interesting.
Yeah. And, to be honest, like I've witnessed and I've seen a lot of, paranormal stuff, and like I've heard a lot of paranormal stuff, but I never actually experienced an animal like that, that actually wasn't there. Like that was my first time, and I'm pretty sure that that was my wife's first time ever experiencing something like that, like spiritual, kind of like, I don't even know what you would call it, like a spiritual animal, maybe. I mean, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's strange.
Yeah.
All right. Can you talk a little bit about your full-time job at the cemetery and some of the experiences you've had there?
Yes. I work at a cemetery full time. We actually we run two cemeteries. Um, the one I was I was actually sitting on a zero turn mower, and I was cutting the cemetery grass, and I look up and I see this like dark figure move across this monument, and I didn't really think anything of it, and like I turned, and then like I did like a double take, and it was gone. And I called my wife like right away. I'm like, hey, I just seen this apparition, over by this monument. And the person that is buried there, he used to play for the Ohio State Buckeyes back in the day. And um, the other experience, I was actually cutting again. I actually have that on video. I sent it to my wife, and I actually have it in the ending of one of my YouTube videos. I was sitting there recording because I was messaging my wife, and I just happened to see this, like, I don't know what you want to call it, like a clear mist like come up from the top of the monument on this grave, and it just like vanished. There was another one. Again, I was messaging my wife, but I was actually on break this time at work, and I was sending my wife a photo of what we were doing at the cemetery, and I took three photos. I took one photo; it was perfectly clear. The second photo, there was kind of like a I don't know what you want to call it, like kind of like a little apparition that you could see. And like my wife even pointed it out. Like I didn't even like really like recognize it, but she sent me the second photo back, and she circled it, and she said, "What is this?" And I like I actually look at the photo, and I'm like, it's like somebody passed through where I was taking that picture. Um
Wow.
I took another photo, and there was like a white glare that was on one of the monuments in one of the photos. And at the other cemetery, I've seen some dark figures move around. I mean, because like the cemetery is like pretty big, and like whenever you're like standing in a certain location, and like if you like look out like you can see like all of the cemetery, and if you glance over at a certain time, like you can see like little black figures moving and then like just disappear. But I mean, as the cemetery goes, I mean that's pretty much all I've seen at the cemetery so far, and I'm pretty sure that I'm going to see more to come.
Right. Interesting. Can you talk a little bit about the Amazon series project you guys are working on?
The Amazon series project, we actually have a video that is being Dennis would have more insight on it. It's actually still in the works with Amazon Prime. We're waiting on Amazon Prime for them to clear the first episode, and whenever that clears, we can actually start posting videos to Amazon. But we do some of the places that we're going to investigate in this upcoming time. Some of those are going to go on Amazon Prime. But as far as Amazon Prime, we're actually still waiting to hear from Amazon Prime, because everything is pretty much, I don't know what you want to call it, like pending, or like they're viewing it.
Now, is there some kind of set schedule, or are you guys just going to post as you make them?
I think we're just going to post as we make them.
Do you know any details on the Gettysburg trip? I know he had mentioned the Gettysburg trip on the interview. I'm curious about that.
As far as that, I do not exactly know all the information on that. Dennis would have to tell you about all that. But as far as that goes, I really don't have all the information on that.
That's going to be a cool investigation. There's so much history there.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Gettysburg?
Me personally, I believe that it is haunted. I've actually seen YouTube videos on that where there's, like people go investigate the Gettysburg, and I've actually seen a lot of crazy stuff on those videos. So, I mean, personally, me, I can't wait to actually get there and actually investigate.
Yeah, I've seen some videos and some photos from that place, and I mean, like full-bodied apparition stuff. I think it's definitely a very haunted location.
Oh yeah,
lots of negative energy.
There's actually a YouTuber that I watch. His name is Omar Gosh TV. He's actually been there quite a lot, and he's actually has gotten a lot of evidence on film that is actually on his YouTube page.
Yeah, well, hopefully you guys catch some good stuff that you can post on Amazon. Like I told Dennis, if you guys are ever in the Columbus area or even in the Youngstown area, because I've got family and friends up there, and if you guys are ever in those two areas, please let me know. I'd love to come on an investigation with you.
We would definitely love to have you, man.
So can we talk a little bit about your YouTube channel that you have?
My YouTube channel is it's actually called Sartin TV. The location that I was telling you about over in South Toledo, that episode is on there. I actually have a couple haunted houses that are on there. They're pretty much abandoned houses, but I've gotten history on them. Well, not history. I've gotten information on those locations, in their hauntings, and one of the haunted houses. It's actually on the YouTube page.
a video clip of a light figure moving as I pan the camera back into the room. And it was, I think I actually did like two or three videos of the same haunted house. And I think it was either the second or third time I went back there. It was me, my wife, and my sister-in-law. We did what they call a 3 a.m. challenge, where like we go there at 3 o'clock at night, and we just investigate, because 3 o'clock a.m. is like, yep. You pretty much already know.
Yeah. And do you let me ask you a question. From your experience, does it make a difference?
I would say yes and no, because I mean, like somebody tells you, hey, there's a haunted house or a haunted location, and you do some history and you really don't find any history, but you go there anyways and you don't really catch anything. So I mean, I guess it all depends on if it's actually haunted or not.
Mm-hmm. But if it is haunted, I mean, does it tend to be more active at 3 a.m., you think, or no?
I would have to say yes, but in my experience, probably like mid-afternoon, close to nighttime is when. Oh well, I mean, not even that. I mean, if a place is haunted, I mean, if whatever's
it's
there,
random,
right? Pretty
right.
much. So I mean, I guess it don't really matter what time.
If you had one place in the entire world you could pick to go investigate, where would it be and why?
I would have to say Waverly Hills, because I've seen a lot of YouTubers go there. Again, one of my other favorite YouTubers, Omar Gosh TV, he's been there a lot. There's another YouTuber, MosRG, The Fam, Chelsea Luna. There are a lot of YouTubers. I've seen a lot of their videos, and they have gone there hundreds of times, and they've caught something every single time that they went.
So active, man. That place is intense.
Oh, yeah. And actually, Ghost Adventures have been there quite a few times, and they've actually caught lots of stuff too.
What do you believe these ghosts are? I mean, do you believe that it's just a soul that hasn't moved on, or is it some kind of trapped memory that's being kind of played over and over, or is it something else, something maybe more sinister that's kind of displaying itself as a ghost, a human form that lived at one time?
I mean, to be honest, I would have to say, like, if it's something evil, I think they might have, had, I mean, well, I don't know how I would put it here. If it's an evil spirit, maybe they died a very horrible death, and like a crazy way, like somebody like murdered them maybe or something. And maybe that's why they're so evil, because, they still had life on this earth and they didn't get that chance. So now they're taking it out on, us humans, hey, I died this certain way, so I'm going to do harm to you if you, come into this haunted location. Like, I'm going to show you what I can do and what I, pretty much like what I'm all about, as an evil spirit.
It does seem to kind of the more tragic the death, a lot of times it seems like it's a little more active, huh? Like if it's a suicide or a murder.
Yeah. Yep. Oh yeah, definitely. I had to come inside. Sorry, there was a lot of bugs outside. I'm in my basement.
It's all right, man. So what are your thoughts on, to kind of get off topic here a little bit? I just kind of want to see where your thoughts are on this. Um, what are your thoughts about aliens?
I mean, there's in Area 51, like that's been talked about for many, many, many years. And, there's the certain places around Area 51 that you can actually go to because, I've actually seen YouTube videos, of these people trying to get into Area 51, and they're approached by these men who are armed and they drive all white vehicles. I mean, like, and you have these UFOs that are seen everywhere all around the world. So, I mean, like, if it's something that has been talked about over all these years, then, I mean, there's most definitely some sort of UFO or alien out there, something extraterrestrial that if it is here, someone's trying to hide it or they don't want us to know about it.
Are you familiar with the Tic Tac sightings the government's talked about?
I've read up just like a little bit, but not too much into it.
I wonder why they've come out in the public and mention that. It makes you wonder, what the motive is behind going public with something like that.
Right, after like they've tried to keep it a secret for so long of a time.
Right.
But I mean, I've heard stories of government making these crafts to, I don't know what word I would use, like making them to I don't know, like make us believe that there is extraterrestrial. But I mean, like everyone has been on the fence for so long of a time because it's been talked about for so many years. It's like, who do you believe? Like some people believe that there is, some people believe that there isn't. So I mean, what do we actually?
Right. And I honestly think there's always, behind a conspiracy theory or behind a myth, there's always some shred of truth usually,
Right.
And it may even be both, right? It may be that they exist, but also the government is trying to, for whatever reason, make us believe in them or pretend like, I don't know. It's just, it's interesting to me.
Oh yeah.
What are your thoughts on cryptids? Anything like that? Are you familiar with like the Mothman?
I mean, it's pretty much the same as the whole aliens and UFO. It's either you believe it or you don't believe it. It's pretty much the same concept.
A lot of times there's UFO sightings that are either around the same exact time or close to when there's usually like a Bigfoot sighting or a cryptid sighting. Not always, not always, but it does happen. Now, what do you think if these things do exist, what do you think they are? I mean, do you think they're just little aliens from somewhere in our universe, or are they like interdimensional beings that are able to like travel in between dimensions, or what could it possibly be?
I mean, honestly, if I mean, I honestly could not tell you that. I mean, it could be that there are from different dimensions, or maybe they, are just here as these little, like little beings that we don't know about.
Yeah, that also makes me wonder about ghosts and things like that. If maybe they are able to maybe some of that kind of stuff is from another dimension, and that it's able to kind of cross over and interact with us. But
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, but who knows?
Right.
What are your thoughts and beliefs on the afterlife? What do you think happens to us when we die? Where do we go? That kind of thing.
I mean, I believe that our soul definitely leaves our body whenever we pass. And, if, like they say, some souls get lost and like they get trapped. And I believe that's where paranormal comes from, like because they're lost, like if they can't see the light or, like, like they're just lost or, like if they died, like back to like what we were talking about, like if they died a horrible death, like they're going to be lost. And, like that's when those souls or those entities are evil. And like they try to attack someone who wants to come investigate, because most of the time, like they want to be found and like they want their story to be told, but then on the other hand, they just want to hide and they want to be left alone. And I think that's where the demonic entities come out of them, because they don't want to be seen or heard of, like they just want to be left alone. So that's why they, scratch people or they leave markings on a paranormal investigator's body. Hey, just leave me alone. Like, I don't want you here, get out. But I mean,
You said you've been scratched before. I mean, what other kind of physical experiences have you encountered?
that is the only one, and hopefully the only one. I've been scratched 3 times. Like as they call the mark of the devil or the mark of the beast. Like I've been scratched 3 times. Like one here, one here, one here. At the same exact time. But yeah, that is the only one, and hopefully the only time. And after I got scratched, I mean, like you could feel it, like it burned. Like, I mean, like it like stung and like burned at the same time. And they say whenever that happens, that it's something of a evil presence that doesn't want you there, because, they're intimidated by you, because you're not afraid. If you know what I'm saying, like,
Right.
say someone who hasn't been doing it as long as I have, like they're going to go into a haunted location and like they're going to get freaked out. And as soon as they hear an entity say get out, like they're going to get out. But me,
Yeah, I mean, if they don't have that
like,
experience,
right,
but
right,
you've got that
like,
experience, you've got that mindset of you kind of have a better understanding of what's going on.
yeah, right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, hey, get out. No, I'm not leaving until I get the information that I want,
What about objects being moved, physical objects, or like poltergeist phenomenon? Have you experienced any of that in your investigations or any of your experiences?
Back to my old house, the balcony door opening on its own. I've actually heard knocks on my front door, and my son has heard knocks on the front door while we're both in the house. Like we're both sitting in the living room, and he's like, "Hey, someone's at the door." And I'm like, "There ain't no one at the door." And then I hear a knocking, and I open the door, and there's no one there. Um, I did a investigation at a abandoned haunted house. I actually have that on video. The chandelier moving as I panned the camera.
Did you? Is that up? That's up on your up on. I think I've seen that video.
Yeah, yep, it's on my YouTube channel. Yep.
Yeah.
And actually, the investigation that the Toledo Spirit Hunters did at my old house. I was actually taking B-roll shots for the video, and I was downstairs, and the chandelier, well, it's not a chandelier, it was pretty much like a little light fixture that was hanging
maybe
down with some
that's the
wire.
video I seen, the one you're talking about right here.
Yep. And I told Dennis, I'm like, hey, Dennis, get down here. Dennis, get down there. I'm like, why the fuck is this moving? And he was like, I don't know. And he was like, did you touch it? I'm like, no, like I just walked in here, to get B-roll shots, and like it just started swinging back and forth on its own.
That's intense.
I've seen doors open on their own on some investigations. Doors opening along with heavy breathing after the door opens, like kind of like somebody was like walking through the door and I seen it move, and maybe they were like whizzing past me and like I heard their breath maybe. But doors, light fixtures, that's pretty much about it.
Disembodied voices. What do you got for me on that? Disembodied voices.
I've actually have those on my YouTube channel. There's quite a disembodied voices. One was telling me to get out. Another, there was another one that said leave. I've had a lot of disembodied voices. All throughout my years. It's just so many that I've heard. But the main disembodied voice that I always hear is get out, because they don't want me there, or like they don't want my team there, so
now,
they always say get out. Like,
is that an EVP or is that with your own ears?
Sometimes with my ears and EVP, or sometimes just with my ears, or
Wow.
sometimes just with the EVP,
Interesting.
or with the spirit box.
Yeah, that spirit box is interesting. I've watched a lot of people use them. I think it can be a good tool, especially if they're actually communicating with what you're talking about. I know sometimes it just kind of throws out words and it makes you wonder. What is your experiences with that? How do you feel about the spirit box as far as being a good investigative tool?
I believe it's 100% accurate. I have a SB7 spirit box, and I have what they call a necrophonic app. You can actually download it on your phone, and it's one of the top-notch apps for cell phones. It's just like a spirit box, but it like blocks out the white noise, and I've actually done that. The necrophonic app actually in my new house here, and I've said how many spirits are here, and I've heard 4, I've heard 8, I've heard 11, and like my wife has the same app on her phone. As far as spirit boxes and the necrophonic app, those are, me personally, my opinion, those are 1,000% good. Like they give me, and like I've heard class A EVPs from my spirit box, and I've actually went Facebook Live on the Toledo Spirit Hunters page, where I did an hour-long investigation with a SB7 spirit box in my old house down in the basement, and that's where I got it sounded like there was a man and a woman, and they were arguing. I don't know what they were arguing over, but there were also 2 kids that were down in the basement of my old house that did not like the male and the female arguing. So like they hid in one of the closets down in my basement. And you can actually go on the Toledo Spirit Hunters Facebook page, and you can actually watch that. It's probably, I don't know, hour and like 2 minutes long, and it's just nothing but spirit box voices throughout the entire video. And then probably like a couple weeks after that, that's when the Toledo Spirit Hunters, we did the full investigation at my house. Well, at my old house, like right before I moved.
Wow. It's good stuff, man. So what's next for you, and what are your goals for your future investigating? What are your goals?
Well, my goals is, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing, and see if I can actually find more truth and information and into the paranormal, because I've been doing it for so long, and like there's a lot of people who still don't believe, and if I can wake them up and open their eyes, maybe one of their family members have passed away, and like whenever a family member passes away, like most of the time they don't ever get to see or talk to that family member ever again. And if me personally, if I can open their eyes and say, hey, paranormal is real, you might have a chance to talk to one of your dead relatives, because it's happened to me. My father passed away on this day 6 years ago, and I've actually spoke with my father twice through the SB7 Spirit Box and the Necrophonic app on my phone. I've actually made contact with my father. But yeah,
I've contacted my go ahead. I was just saying, I've contacted my father through psychic mediums, and
oh yeah, most definitely. I have a medium. She's a friend of mine. We were actually supposed to do a location where she was going to go in. It was the VFW post on Alexis here in Toledo, and the night of the investigation, the VFW post called her and they canceled. So we never, ever got to go there. And that VFW post is supposed to be one of the most haunted locations in Toledo. Like, that's how active it is, where they called and said, no, like, we're going to cancel. Because me 100%, I believe that they believe that the spirits that are attached to that VFW post will cause harm to somebody. I think that's why they called and canceled. And that was probably like 2 or 3 years ago that happened. And I've never, ever been able to ever get back in there. Mm. But yeah, like that's one of my goals, like, is to, wake people up, hey, like, you haven't heard or seen your family member because they passed away so many years ago, maybe you can use this spirit box and come in contact with them, and you can tell them that you love them and that you miss them, and maybe they'll give you a Class A EVP back saying, hey, I miss you too, I love you as well.
Yeah, it can be a life-changing event when something like that takes place.
Oh yeah. As far as the Toledo Spirit Hunters, we do have a investigation coming up next month on the 8th. I don't know if Dennis wants me to say the location, but we do have a location coming up on the 8th of next month, and I'm very, very, very excited, because back to what you asked me earlier, like, how did you, like, become a part of the Toledo Spirit Hunters? I was actually working with this gentleman. He actually was helping me get into the location that we're getting into, and right at the last minute, he never called me back. He never emailed me, like, he was supposed to help me get in there. And he's from another paranormal investigation team. And it's kind of funny because after all these years, he doesn't remember me. But me personally, I believe that he's kind of upset and jealous because I joined this team, because he has had some run-ins with our team before. I mean, I'm not going to get into all the specifics, but he doesn't even know who I am anymore. And he's the one who said that he could get me in there. And at the last minute, he never returned my calls and this and that. And I actually came in contact with this location, and he actually gave me, what do you want to call bad credibility. And that's why they never, the location that we're going to on the 8th didn't allow me to go in, and me and my wife to investigate, because that gentleman gave me bad credibility.
That's tough.
But yeah, but now, you know, since I joined Toledo Spirit Hunters, we're getting locations left and right, and I've been trying to get in some of these locations for a very long time. And now that I joined the team, you know, everything's fallen right into place. And Toledo Spirit Hunters, you know, between me, Dennis, his wife, and the other team members, the Toledo Spirit Hunters is going to do some very, very, very big things in the near future.
Yeah,
And
I think so too.
I know that it's going to have a positive on our, like it's going to have a lot of positivity on our community. And, you know, it's going to open up doors to other investigations, you know, like it could, I know that it's going to open the doors for more residential investigations as well, because, you know, back to what I was saying, you know, one of my main goals is for, you know, these people to wake up and say, hey, you know, maybe I can talk to my relative who is deceased. You know, maybe I'll have this team come in and see what they can do as far as contact wise. You know, like, is my family member still lingering around the house? You know, like, is he in the basement? Is he upstairs in the attic? You know, does he miss me? You know, or he or she, or, you know, like if a child passed away, you know. But, you know, the Toledo Spirit Hunters are going to do wonderful things in the future here coming up, and I can't wait, and I know that my Dennis can't wait, and the rest of the team can't wait, and I'm pretty sure that you can't wait neither.
Yeah. So, well, David, where can we get a hold of you if they wanted you to come do an investigation in home or business?
You could go to Toledo Spirit Hunters on Facebook. You can contact us through there. You can contact Dennis Hagen on his Facebook page. You can contact me, David Sartin. That's Sartin. That's through Facebook. You can go on to my, what is it called? My Instagram page. It's David Sartin on Instagram. You can go there. Or if you want, you can send me an email. It's davidsartin.sartin@gmail.com. If you ever want the team to come investigate your home or a place of business that you think is haunted and you want answers, you know, you can just send me an email or go to the Facebook page or my Instagram page, and we can take it from there.
Well, David, thanks for coming on the show. I'm sure we're going to hear from you guys real soon.
Oh, well, thank you for having me, man. It was a pleasure.